1995, survivor Elka Klein, née Fajtelowicz, interviewer Fred Charatan, Boca Raton, Florida, United States of America, language English, reel 1. My name is Fred Charatan, C-H-A-R-A-T-A-N. Today's date is July the 25th, 1995. I am conducting an interview with survivor Elka Klein. The interview is being conducted in Boca Raton, Florida, United States of America. I'd like you to start by saying your name and giving its spelling.
My maiden name? Or
No, your present name, and then your maiden name.
Elka Klein, K-L-E, no, sorry. Elka is Z-L-K-A. Klein, K-L-E-I-N. And my maiden name is Elka Fajtelewicz, F-I-T-E-L-E-W-I-C-Z.
Did you have any other names or nicknames?
No. In the ghetto, when we got in, they gave me another name. They thought that would help. Maybe they wouldn't take me to the concentration camp, but it was of no use. They did give me another name. Friends suggested.
What was your date of birth?
December 15, 1923.
So how old does that make you now?
71.
Yes. And can you tell me the name of the city that you were born in and how it's spelled?
Volkowisk, Poland. W-O-L-O-K-O-W-I-S-K. Volkowisk.
I'd like you now to go back to your childhood, and I believe you told me you were one of 11.
Yeah.
And tell me about how you grew up and your kind of family life you had in
We had
the town.
a very nice family. Now, 3 of our oldest children I didn't know. I wasn't born yet, because my father was married before and his wife died, and he remarried my mother. My mother was much younger than my father. My mother had 8 children, and from the 8 children, 5 were killed in concentration camp.
So what happened to the other 3?
The first 3 went to Canada, and 3 went to Argentina.
From your father's previous marriage?
No, 3 for my mother too. You know, went to Argentina.
Yes.
And there were 3 with me, 4 sisters. No, 2 brothers and 3 sisters. And they all got killed in the concentration camp.
So you grew up with a pretty large family?
Yes.
Where did you live? What kind of home did you have?
We had a very nice home.
Was it an apartment or a...
Religious, not as strict as my husband.
Yeah.
We weren't Hasidim or anything, but especially my mother was very, very pious. And we were Orthodox people. My father had a building contractor, he was. We were pretty well off before the war. And we had a good life until the Germans came and occupied us, but they were only for a couple of months, and then the Russians came in. So we were still, yeah, they occupied part of our of Poland. That was White Russia. So the Russians were 2 years with us. And then the Germans came in again and burned the old city, was almost on fire. So all our buildings were burned at that time. And some of our workers, they weren't Jewish because we had about 100 workers. They tried to build for us a little place so we can still live in, because everything was burned. And they succeeded in, actually was like in hiding. And
Was it a bunker?
no, that was a little house they built for us. So we were there only a couple of months till they took us to a ghetto. And there in the ghetto we were like from December 1942, they took us to the bunker, and there we were till 1943.
Where
in
was
the
the
bunkers.
ghetto?
That was in Volkovisk, at the military barracks. And that's where they brought all the Jewish people from Volkovisk and around Volkovisk. It was about, for sure, 10 or 15,000 people they concentrated in those bunkers. And we were there till they took us to Birkenau, Auschwitz.
You and your entire family?
Yes. The ones who were left, you know. No, three sisters lived in Lublin. They were married already. I was the youngest. So in Lublin, they took to them before they took us to Auschwitz. In 42, I think they already exterminated them in Majdanek. So 2 sisters with a family were killed in Majdanek, and one of my sister, the one who is 4 years older than I am, they ran away with the husband, and they came over to the Russian side, to us. So they lived with us till they took us all to Birkenau. That was in 1943.
43.
In January 1943. Yeah.
That was when the
And
ghetto...
there, I was still 1945. Now, I am the only survivor from my whole family. My brother got in the concentration camp, but somehow he died. We don't know how and what. He was a very strong young man, and somehow he couldn't take the atrocities. He was too proud, and he just died there. And my sister-in-law with 2 children, and my sister with 2 children, and my mother got into with me to Birkenau, but my mother said, well, you, my dear, you have to go separate. She was a very smart woman. And she said, because I have to go with your sister, when I talk about my mother, it's not good. Then I fall apart. Anyway, she said, you have to go separate. I have to go with your sister and your sister-in-law with the children. And she knew very well where they are going. They took them right away to the gas chamber. Because children, they didn't let in. If you had with you children, small children, they took them all in gas chamber. And I went, they took me to the camp, to Birkenau. And there I was for a whole year in Birkenau. Then they transferred me to Auschwitz. And I was there till 1945. Now I did, in Birkenau was really a Vernichtungslager, you know what it means. Completely, it was impossible. It's only very few people, you know, we came in, thousands of young girls came in, and overnight they were like flies dying out. And we were there just labor. We did real men's work, caring without any even any sense. They made us walk out of the camp in the bad weather, in the biggest frost, without shoes, some racks on our feet, and they took us to places where there were big, big rocks, and we had to carry those big rocks from one place to another, just for the sake to make us work. And naturally there were guards, you know, with big dogs. If we didn't do so, he let the dog attack us, and that's how we lived for all year. Then it got a little better. A new commander of the camp took over, and he said that we are going to transport you to Auschwitz. And in Auschwitz, the accommodation was much better than Birkenau. So we were working in a Schuhkommando. And the work in a Schuhkommando was that they had piles and piles, mountains of shoes that they took from the gas chamber, from the people. And we had to take them, just tear them apart, because they were looking for jewelry. And many times there was jewelry in the hills, hidden. And they were looking for that. And naturally we had to give it to them because we were watched, but a few times I got away without giving the rings to them, and we sold it to other maids, mostly Russian and Polish, for bread. So we got a loaf of bread for a ring. So it was extra food to eat. I was with two girlfriends. They were younger a little than I am. One was at that time 14 years old. I don't know even how she got in, because really very young girls they didn't let in. But she somehow was lucky and she got in with her older sister. And we were all the time together, three of us. So, and I really, like I was the oldest from them, so I really took care of them. And that was still 45 where we were liberated. And they took us on a death march.
When did they start you off on the death march?
On the march, we were going in 45. We left Auschwitz, and in January 45 we went to Ravensbrück. We walked all the way. We were a couple of months in Ravensbrück, and then they took us to another camp, to to Malchau. And there we were for a couple of months. And from there they took us to Tachau. And that was the worst thing. They almost starved us. Didn't give us days were without food. They didn't let us work or anything. Just didn't a starvation camp. We were there only 3 weeks because if they would keep us a little longer, we would have been starved to death. So from there, they took us to Germany in Grima. That's where we were liberated.
Who liberated you?
The Americans. We were actually on the Russian side, but we ran away from them because I knew the Russians. I didn't want to be with the Russians, so I told my friends, we are not staying here. We are going to try to get away from here and go on the American side. So there was a Jewish captain, a Russian, and he saw 3 Jewish girls. He said, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you to get away from here. He said, if I could, I would run away myself at that time. He said, but I cannot do this because I have family left in Russia. But I'm going to see to you that you are going to go to the Americans. And he really helped us. At night, we went over the border to the Americans. And the Americans really saved our lives. They nurtured us. They like little babies. We were on baby food for a couple of weeks because we were starved and sick. And they brought us back to really to health.
In what way were you sick apart from starvation?
From starvation.
Yes. Had your ankles
And from
swollen?
bed, sleeping, all the march. We were sleeping, while we were marching, we were sleeping on, just on the grass and the earth and nothing.
Were your ankles swollen? Did you get swollen ankles?
We were in bad shape, very bad shape. But we were still young and still some strength left over from, from my youth. So we survived somehow.
Did you have typhus?
We had typhus in the bunkers, in the when they took us, to the ghetto. They had typhus. My whole family had typhus. Everybody had typhus, and many people died. Half of the ghetto, they died. Yeah, but I somehow survived. My mother was still with me at that time, so she saw to it that we tried to give me a drink and to help me. Otherwise, nobody looked after us. Nobody. But I believe in fate. It was, beschert. Meant to be that I survived. I survived.
Your husband mentioned that you contracted tuberculosis.
Yes.
When did you? When was that diagnosed?
I find out after the liberation. I didn't know.
When did they discover
When
tuberculosis?
we discovered, when I went for an X-ray, we were supposed to immigrate to Canada, and they took X-rays. So I went to take an X-ray, and the doctor tells me that I have a shadow on my lung. I was very, very surprised because at that time my husband had pneumonia, very bad ones, and we were afraid of him that he would have something with his lungs. So his lungs were okay, but I had a shadow. Somehow they, they let me through. I don't know, but they did. We did some things, they let me through. And then immediately, after about 6 months, I started to cough So I went for a checkup, and that's when they discovered that I had tuberculosis.
Let me take you back for a moment
Mm-hmm.
to after the liberation. I believe you met your husband while you were waiting for a bus to go to
Yes,
Italy.
we were waiting for a train, all three of us. They were going to look for their father. They thought that their father is still alive in Italy. And I was going to go to Argentina. A girl without money, without anything. They are going to Italy, and I'm going to Argentina. And we would at that time you could catch a train without money, without a ticket. They let you go. So, but we were very hungry and waiting for the train to come. So another Jewish boy sees there's three girls waiting for the train. Said, "Why are you waiting here? What are you doing?" We said, "We are waiting for a train, but in the meantime, it would be a good idea if you could tell us where is here a restaurant. We have to go to eat." We had the Russian captain gave us money to be able to manage a little. So we were going to look for this restaurant, and who is on a balcony? My husband and his friend, and he sees three Jewish girls. So he said, "Where are you going?" We said, "We are looking for a restaurant." So he said, "Come up. We have all the food that you can eat, and we'll give you food." So we went up, and then we never separated again. We didn't go to Italy or didn't go to Argentina.
Was it a case of love at first sight?
I think so. I think so. Yeah. I liked my husband right away. And he sat down near me, so, he chose me. My other girlfriend is red-headed, and he doesn't like red. And the other one was too young, the little blonde kid.
So
Yeah.
how soon after that did you get married?
We got married about, I think, 6 months later. Yeah. We had a double wedding with my girlfriend.
And then what happened after that?
After that, no, I never wanted to stay in Germany, neither did my husband. We had a good business, we had everything there. But I said, no, that's not a place for us. We have to go away from Germany.
Your husband already had developed a business in
Yes,
Mittensburg.
when we got married, sure.
Mittensburg, was it?
Mittenwald.
Mittenwald.
Yeah, Mittenwald. And we were working for that. Now, I remembered somehow the address for my Canadian family and Argentinian. I remember the number, everything, the street. So we sent away immediately to a newspaper to my family. So we said, which paper will come first, we'll go. So the first papers we got for Canada. So we didn't wait for Argentinian papers anymore. It came in, but we had already applied for Canadian. So we went to Canada, to Montreal. It was our first stop.
And how did you make out there?
Oh, we had money, we weren't on anybody's, favors. We brought money because we had a business.
Yes.
So we managed pretty good, but a year later I got sick with my tuberculosis. So I was for 3 years in a sanatorium. And I had already a little boy,
That must have been a difficult time for you.
Very difficult time. Yeah, extremely difficult.
You had just the one child then?
Yeah. Our daughter was much later.
Yes.
Our daughter is 13 years younger than our son. Yeah. And it was difficult time, very difficult, especially for my husband, you know.
He had to care for the child.
To care for the child, he had to work, and he used to come every single weekend to see me. He had to travel 60 miles. Every week he came to see me until he got, the doctor liked him very much, and he saw that he's a very capable man. And he said, you know, Mrs. Klein, why didn't you tell me that your husband is so capable? I can give him work here in the Sen. So he was, at first, he was conducting services. They had a little synagogue. And then he said that it's a good idea. He should learn the occupational therapy. And he is going to open a therapy. And he will do very well. And that's what he did. From books, he learned occupational therapy. He was a jack of all trades. And while he was there in the Seine working, he still was traveling every single day after work to Montreal for his to get his smicha and to go to McGill. So he did his work. Yeah.
July 25th, 1995, survivor Elka Klein, Reel 2. Before we go on, I'd like to take you back to when your town was bombarded and occupied by the Germans. They stayed for 2 months. Can you recall what life was like then for you and your family during that time?
Very, very bad. They actually, 3/4 of the city was all burned down. Everything. It was a disaster. But we were saved at that time. Saved, you can tell, that the Russians came in. So it
After
was,
only a short time, you mean? You said the Germans were there for 2 months.
yeah, and then they came in.
During that 2 months, did your family have any ill treatment, or did your family suffer from the German occupation?
Just a minute. I'm sorry. When they, in 45, when they occupied Poland, they didn't come in to our part.